Champagne glasses caught the light like diamonds. 200 guests filled the Grand Teton Lodge ballroom, their laughter echoing off timber beams that stretched 30 feet overhead. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the Wyoming mountains stood dark against the sunset peaks, still crowned with snow, despite the late spring warmth. Alyssa Hartwin moved through the crowd like a ghost. 19 years old, blonde hair pulled into a low knot at the base of her neck, wearing a black dress so plain it might as well have been a uniform. Because that's what it was, a servant's uniform in everything but name. She carried a silver tray loaded with champagne flutes, her steps small and careful. The ballroom floor was Italian marble, polished to a mirror shine. One wrong step and she'd fall. One dropped glass and there would be consequences. There were always consequences. The wolf inside her lay silent. It had been silent for as long as she could remember. 12 years of silence so complete that sometimes Alyssa wondered if she'd ever had a wolf at all. Maybe she was broken. Maybe she was exactly what her father said she was, worthless. She offered champagne to a cluster of women in evening gowns that probably cost more than Alyssa made in a year. They took the glasses without looking at her. Without saying thank you, she was furniture to them. Less than furniture. Furniture at least had a purpose. Alyssa moved on. The gala was a celebration, though Alyssa didn't know what they were celebrating. Her father, Marcus Hartwin Alpha of the Silverpine Pack, stood near the fireplace talking to other alphas. He was 48 but looked older, his dark hair streaked with gray, his face carved into hard lines that had never known softness. When his gray eyes swept the room, Alyssa ducked her head and moved in the opposite direction. Stay invisible. Stay small. Survive the night. That was always the goal, just survive. She'd been surviving for over a decade, ever since her mother died, ever since everything changed. Alyssa circled back toward the kitchen, her tray empty now. She needed to refill it. Keep moving. Keep working. 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, $8 a day. Enough to cover food in the tiny basement room where she slept on a cot that smelled like mildew. Not enough to ever pay off the debt her father said she owed. $680,000. That's what Marcus claimed it cost to raise her. To feed her, to keep a roof over her head. And every cent had to be repaid through labor. A 7-year-old child couldn't sign a legal contract. Alyssa knew that now. But at 7, when her father shoved the papers in front of her and guided her small hand to make an X, where he pointed, she hadn't known anything except that her mother was gone, and the man who was supposed to protect her looked at her with something close to hatred. The kitchen doors swung open. Steam and heat rolled out along with the head chef barking orders. Alyssa slipped inside, set her tray on the stainless steel counter, and reached for fresh glasses. You. Alyssa's hand froze. She turned. Chloe Hartwin stood in the doorway. 28 years old, beautiful in the way a knife was beautiful, all sharp edges and cold surfaces. Her black hair fell straight to her shoulders, perfectly cut. Her brown eyes, usually warm when others were watching, were ice now that no one else could see. Chloe was Marcus's daughter-in-law, or she had been before Garrett died 3 years ago. Alyssa's older brother, the golden son, the one Marcus had actually loved. Garrett's death in a hunting accident had left Chloe a widow at 25. It had also left her bitter and angry, and somehow that anger always found its way to Alyssa. The guests at table 7 need more wine, Chloe said. Her voice was smooth, pleasant, the voice she used when others might overhear. I'll bring it, Alyssa said quietly. Good. Chloe stepped closer, too close. And try not to embarrass the family. You're already an embarrassment just by existing. Don't make it worse. Alyssa said nothing. There was nothing to say. She learned years ago that talking back only made things worse. Chloe's eyes narrowed. What? No response. Not even a yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's better. Chloe smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. You know, Alyssa, I almost feel sorry for you. Almost. But then I remember that you're the reason Garrett is dead. The words hit like a physical blow. Alyssa's breath caught. If Marcus hadn't been so distracted dealing with your constant failures, Chloe continued, her voice still pleasant, still calm, he would have gone on that hunting trip. He would have been there to protect Garrett, but no. He was stuck here managing you. And Garrett died alone in the woods. It wasn't true. Alyssa knew it wasn't true. Garrett's death had nothing to do with her. But Chloe had said it so many times that sometimes late at night when sleep wouldn't come, Alyssa almost believed it. I'm sorry, Alyssa whispered. Sorry doesn't bring him back. Chloe picked up a wine bottle from the counter. For a moment, Alyssa thought she would just hand it over. Then Chloe's other hand moved quick as a snake, and suddenly there was something else in her palm. A silver knife. Small, decorative. the kind used to cut lemons for garnish. Except it wasn't decorative to a werewolf. Silver burned, silver poisoned, silver left scars that never fully healed. Oops, Chloe said softly. How clumsy of me. She pressed the flat of the blade against Alyssa's wrist. The pain was immediate and absolute. Alyssa's skin blistered, blackened smoke rising from the contact point. The smell of burning flesh filled the small space. Alyssa bit down on her lips so hard she tasted blood, refusing to scream, refusing to give Chloe the satisfaction. 3 seconds? 4. 5. Chloe pulled the knife away. The damage was done. A burn mark the size of a quarter, edges charred, black center red and weeping. Clean yourself up, Chloe said. She set the knife down on the counter like nothing had happened. And bring the wine to table 7. Don't keep the guests waiting. She walked out. Alyssa stood there trembling, her wrist on fire. This was the 6th time. 6 times in all these years that Chloe had found an excuse to touch her with silver. The scars were still there from the others. Right shoulder, lower back, left calf, right forearm, upper thigh, now the right wrist. Alyssa ran cold water over the burn. It didn't help much. Werewolves healed fast from normal injuries, but silver was different. Silver wounds took days, sometimes weeks, and they hurt the entire time. She wrapped a kitchen towel around her wrist, hiding the injury. Then she picked up the wine bottle and 3 fresh glasses and pushed back through the kitchen doors into the ballroom. Just survive. Just get through tonight. Table 7 was near the back, close to the windows. Alyssa approached carefully, her wrapped wrist hidden against her side. She set the glasses down, poured the wine with her left hand, her movements slow and deliberate. Thank you, one of the guests said. An older woman with kind eyes. Alyssa nodded and turned to go. That's when she felt it. A presence. Heavy and intense, like standing too close to a furnace. The hair on the back of her neck stood up. Her silent wolf stirred for the first time in years, just the faintest whisper of awareness. Alyssa looked up. On the 2nd floor balcony that overlooked the ballroom, a man stood alone. Tall, 6'5", at least dressed in black. Dark hair pulled back from a face carved from stone. From this distance, she couldn't see the color of his eyes, but she could feel them on her. Watching. AlphaKing Ryden Blackwood, ruler of the Nightshade Pack, the most powerful alpha in the Western Territories, and the son of the woman Alyssa's father had murdered years ago. Alyssa's heart stuttered. She looked away quickly, ducking her head, moving back toward the kitchen. Why was he here? Marcus and Ryden were enemies, ancient enemies, blood enemies. Unless this was some kind of political meeting, a truce negotiation. Alphas sometimes met on neutral ground to discuss territory disputes. Or maybe he was here for revenge. Alyssa pushed the thought away. It didn't matter. Whatever business the Alpha King had with her father, it had nothing to do with her. She was nobody. Invisible. She made it 3 more steps before someone bumped into her from behind. Hard. Alyssa stumbled forward, her feet tangling, her balance gone. She fell toward the marble floor. No, not the floor. The refreshment table. Time seemed to slow. She saw the crystal punch bowl 3 feet wide and filled to the brim. She saw the champagne tower glasses stacked in a pyramid 6 layers high. She saw her own hands reaching out, trying to catch herself, knowing it was too late. She hit the table with her full weight. The punch bowl tipped. Liquid cascaded across white linen. The champagne tower collapsed, glass exploding in a cascade of shattering crystal that sounded like wind chimes in a hurricane. Alyssa went down in the middle of it, shards raining around her. A piece of glass sliced across her palm. Another caught her cheek. But the worst was the champagne flute that broke beneath her as she fell, driving a 3-inch shard deep into her right shoulder. Pain bloomed white and hot. The ballroom went silent. 200 conversations died in an instant. 200 faces turned toward the wreckage, toward Alyssa bleeding on the floor in a pool of punch and broken glass. She tried to push herself up. Her hands slipped in the liquid. The glass shard in her shoulder ground against bone. Footsteps approached. Slow, deliberate. Alyssa looked up through the hair that had fallen across her face. Chloe stood 3 feet away. Her expression was shocked, horrified, perfectly performed. "Oh my God," Chloe said loud enough for everyone to hear. "Alyssa, are you okay? You just collapsed. Here, let me help." She knelt down, reaching out. Alyssa saw what was in Chloe's hand a second too late. The silver knife. Chloe gripped Alyssa's forearm, fingers wrapping tight around bare skin. In her other hand, the knife pressed against the open cut on Alyssa's palm, silver touching blood. The reaction was instantaneous. The cut, which would have healed in minutes, began to blacken. Smoke rose from Alyssa's palm. The smell of burning flesh joined the smell of spilled alcohol. Chloe's face was still shocked, still concerned, but her eyes were smiling. "We need to get you cleaned up," Chloe said. She pressed harder. Alyssa's vision blurred. The pain from the silver combined with the glass in her shoulder, the burns on her wrist, the cuts on her face. Too much. It was too much. Her body decided for her. The world tilted sideways. She was falling again, this time into darkness. The last thing she heard was someone shouting, the voice distant and distorted like it was coming from underwater. Then nothing. When consciousness tried to return, it came in fragments. Sensations without context. Warmth. She was warm for the first time in years. Strong arms holding her, cradling her against a chest that moved with steady breaths. A scent. Cedar and smoke and winter air, clean and sharp and somehow familiar even though she'd never smelled it before. A voice. Deep. Rough with an emotion she couldn't name. "Who did this to you?" Alyssa's eyes fluttered open. She was no longer on the ballroom floor. She was being carried. The ceiling moved above her, timber beams and iron chandeliers passing in a blur. She turned her head, the movement taking enormous effort. The man carrying her had a face carved from granite, sharp jaw dusted with dark stubble, a thin scar running from his left temple to his cheekbone, hair black as midnight pulled back from his face, and eyes, amber eyes, wolf eyes, alpha eyes, Raiden Blackwood. The Alpha King was carrying her through the ballroom, and he was furious. The rage came off him in waves so intense that the guests were backing away, creating a corridor through the crowd. No one dared speak. No one dared move. "Answer me." His voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried. Alpha command threaded through every word. "Who burned you with silver?" Alyssa tried to speak. Her throat was too dry, her tongue too thick. Raiden looked down at her, and something in his expression shifted. The rage was still there, but underneath it was something else, something that looked almost like pain. "Don't," he said softer now. "Don't try to talk. Just hold on." He moved faster, his strides eating up the distance to the hallway that led to the private suites. Alyssa caught a glimpse of her father's face as they passed. Marcus looked shocked. No, not shocked. Terrified. Why would he be terrified? They entered a hallway, then a room. Large, luxurious, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the mountains. A massive bed with white linens. This was a VIP suite, the kind reserved for visiting alphas. Raiden laid her on the bed with a gentleness that contradicted his size. His hands were careful as he arranged the pillows beneath her head. "Healer," he barked at someone Alyssa couldn't see. "Now." Footsteps ran. Raiden knelt beside the bed, bringing his face level with hers. Those golden eyes studied her with an intensity that should have been frightening, but somehow wasn't. "You're safe now," he said. "I won't let anyone hurt you again." Alyssa didn't understand. Why would the Alpha King care about a servant? Why would he protect her? No, it wasn't possible. But then Raiden did something that made her heart stop. He leaned closer, his face inches from hers, and he breathed in. A long, deep breath, like he was drawing her scent into his lungs, like he was confirming something he already suspected. His eyes closed, his jaw clenched, his hands resting on the bed on either side of her, curled into fists so tight the knuckles went white. "Rain," he whispered, "and wild honeysuckle." Alyssa stared at him. That was her scent. The scent that marked her as an individual, as unique as a fingerprint. Every werewolf had one. But how did he know hers? Raiden's eyes opened. The amber had gotten brighter, more intense. His wolf was right there, just beneath the surface. 2 years, he said, his voice rough. 2 years I've been searching for this scent. I smelled it once at a party in Silverpine territory. A girl serving drinks. Blonde hair pulled up high, a few strands falling against her neck. She smiled at a child. The most beautiful smile I'd ever seen. I spent the entire night trying to find her, but she disappeared before I could. Alyssa's breath caught. She remembered that night, 2 years ago. She'd been 17. There had been a gala for someone's birthday. A young boy, maybe 5 years old, had wandered away from his parents and found Alyssa in a hallway. He'd been crying, she'd dried his tears and walked him back to his mother. And she'd smiled at him because he was innocent and sweet and had called her pretty lady. I went back, Raiden continued, 17 times in 2 years, every event, every gathering in Silverpine. I attended all of them looking for that scent. For you, the Alphas thought I was trying to build alliances, negotiate treaties, but I was just searching. His hand moved, reaching out like he wanted to touch her face. Then he stopped himself, fingers hovering an inch from her skin. "And now I've found you," he said, "and you're covered in burns, in cuts, in scars from silver. Tell me who did this. The door burst open. A woman in her 40s rushed in carrying a leather medical bag. The healer. Behind her came two more people, Marcus Hartwin and Chloe. Marcus's face was carefully neutral, but those storm gray eyes were calculating. He looked at Alyssa on the bed, then at Ryden kneeling beside her. AlphaKing Blackwood, Marcus said, his voice smooth. I apologize for the disturbance. My daughter is clumsy. She fell. She didn't fall. Ryden didn't stand, didn't turn around. He kept his eyes on Alyssa. She was pushed. I'm sure it was an accident. Asa and the burns, Ryden's voice dropped to something dangerous. Were those accidents too? Marcus hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. Ryden stood. When he turned to face Marcus, he was every inch the Alpha King. Tall, powerful, deadly. 6 burns, Ryden said. I can smell the silver poisoning from here. Old scars and fresh ones. This didn't happen tonight. This has been happening for years. Alpha King, with all due respect, how I discipline my daughter is my business. Your daughter. Something in Ryden's voice made the temperature in the room drop 10 degrees. The healer, who had been moving towards Alyssa, froze. Chloe took a step back. Ryden crossed the distance to Marcus in 3 long strides. He didn't touch him. Didn't need to. The alpha presence radiating off him was enough to make Marcus's wolf submit, forcing the older man to drop his eyes. Your daughter, Ryden repeated softer now, is my mate. The words fell into the room like stones into still water. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Then Marcus laughed. It was a sharp, bitter sound. That's not possible. Alyssa is an Omega, weak. Her wolf has been silent since childhood. She can't possibly be your mate. The bond doesn't lie. Ryden's voice was flat, final. I felt it the moment I touched her. That scent I've been searching for. The one that's been haunting me. She is mine. No. Chloe stepped forward, her face twisted with something ugly. No, she can't be. She's nothing. She's a servant. She's mine. The word came out as a growl. Ryden's eyes flashed bright. She is mine, and anyone who touches her will answer to me. He turned to the healer, his voice returning to something almost normal. Almost. Heal her. Everything. The cuts, the burns, all of it. Use whatever you need. Yes, Alpha King. Ryden looked at Marcus and Chloe. Get out. And this is my... Get out. The Alpha command was absolute, undeniable. Before I forget, we're standing on neutral ground. Marcus's jaw worked, his hands clenched, but he had no choice. When an Alpha King gave a direct command, you obeyed or you died. He turned and walked out, his back stiff with suppressed rage. Chloe followed, but not before shooting Alyssa a look of pure hatred. The door closed behind them. Ryden waited until their footsteps faded. Then he returned to the bed, kneeling again, bringing himself level with Alyssa. I need you to understand something, he said quietly. You're not going back to that basement. You're not working 16 hours a day for $8. You're not being burned with silver or beaten or starved. Alyssa found her voice. It came out as a whisper. I owe him $680,000. A 7-year-old child can't sign a legally binding contract. That debt is void. He'll come for me. Let him try. Ryden's fingers brushed a strand of blonde hair back from her forehead. The touch was gentle, reverent. Do you feel it, the bond? Alyssa didn't know what she felt. Her wolf was still silent, had been silent for so long, she'd forgotten what it felt like to have that other presence in her mind. But there was something, a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the healer's hands working on her shoulder. A pull toward this man she'd never spoken to before tonight. I don't know, she whispered. My wolf is gone. No, Ryden leaned closer. Your wolf is sleeping. I can feel her. Buried deep, but there. Something has been suppressing her. The healer made a sound, sharp, surprised. What? Ryden demanded. The healer was staring at a vial of Alyssa's blood. Wolfsbane, high concentrations. This didn't get here by accident. How much? 120 nanograms per milliliter. Ryden went very still. That's 40 times the lethal dose. Yes. How long? The healer ran another test, her hands moving quickly over instruments Alyssa didn't recognize. Based on the saturation in the bone marrow. Years. A decade at least. Ryden turned back to Alyssa. His eyes were burning now, literally glowing in the dim light. Who gave you Wolfsbane? Alyssa's throat closed. She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Because she knew, every morning for years, coffee. Her father always made her coffee. Black bitter with a taste that made her tongue go numb. 3 drops. She'd seen him once when she was younger, measuring out 3 drops from a small brown bottle into her cup. For your health, he'd said. You're weak. This will help. But it hadn't helped. It had silenced her wolf, kept her from shifting, kept her from being strong, kept her from being a threat. My father, she whispered, he put it in my coffee. Every morning. The healer gasped. Ryden didn't move, didn't blink. But something in his expression shifted. The rage that had been simmering beneath the surface erupted into something cold and terrible. All those years, he said softly, he poisoned his own daughter. He stood, crossed to the window, looked out at the mountains where the last light was fading from the sky. I'm going to kill him. Alpha King, the healer started. No. Ryden turned back. Not tonight, not here, but he will answer for this. For every burn, every scar, every drop of poison. He returned to the bed, knelt again, took Alyssa's hand in both of his, careful to avoid the burns. I need you to listen to me, he said. I know this is overwhelming. I know you don't know me, but the bond is real. You are my mate, and I will protect you, with my life if necessary. Do you understand? Alyssa looked into those eyes like molten gold and saw the truth there, saw the determination, the promise. And something in her chest, something that had been frozen for so long, began to thaw. Why, she whispered. Why do you care? Ryden's expression softened. Because the moment I touched you, the moment I caught your scent, my wolf recognized you. You are the other half of my soul, the one I'm supposed to protect, to cherish, to love. He paused. And because years ago your father killed my mother. The world stopped. Alyssa stared at him, her mind refusing to process the words. Her father killed his mother. Marcus Hartwin, Alpha of Silverpine, had murdered Queen Alara Blackwood. I was 14, Ryden continued, his voice distant, now lost in memory. It was the night of the full moon. We were celebrating. The entire pack was gathered. We'd lowered our defenses because it was a sacred night, a night of peace, and he came, alone, wearing black. He found my mother in her chambers. Ryden's hand tightened on Alyssa's. I heard her scream. I ran. But I was too late. He had her by the hair, a knife to her throat. I begged him to stop, and he looked at me, smiled, and said, tell your father your mother's last words. A muscle in Ryden's jaw ticked. She said, live well, my son. Don't let hatred destroy your heart. Then he cut her throat. She bled out on the marble floor while I held her. And he ran. We chased him, but he made it across the border into Silverpine territory. We couldn't follow without starting a war. Tears were running down Alyssa's face now. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I know. Ryden used his thumb to wipe away her tears. You were 7, a child. This isn't your fault. But I'm his daughter. You're his victim. The words were firm, final. He poisoned you, enslaved you, let his daughter-in-law torture you. Whatever sins Marcus Hartwin carries, they're his alone, not yours. The healer finished her work, packing away her instruments. The wounds are clean. The silver burns will take a few days to heal fully, but she'll be fine. Thank you, Sienna. The healer nodded and left, closing the door quietly behind her. Ryden stood, but he didn't release Alyssa's hand. I'm going to stay here tonight, he said. Outside your door. Marcus will try to get you back. I won't let that happen. He'll be angry. Let him be angry. He can't touch you now. Alyssa wanted to believe that. Wanted to believe that after all these years of nightmare, someone was finally on her side. But fear had been her companion for too long. What happens tomorrow, she asked. Tomorrow we begin fixing what he broke. Ryden looked down at their joined hands, starting with purging the wolfsbane from your system. Your wolf has been asleep too long. It's time to wake her up. What if she doesn't wake up? What if I really am broken? You're not broken. Ryden lifted her hand, pressed his lips to her knuckles. The gesture was so gentle, it made Alyssa's chest ache. You're suppressed. There's a difference. He released her hand and moved toward the door. Rest, he said. You're safe now, I promise. And then he was gone, the door closing behind him with a soft click. Alyssa lay in the massive bed in the clean white sheets in a room that didn't smell like mildew and despair. Her shoulder throbbed where the glass had been. Her burns ached. Her cuts stung. But for the first time in so many years, she wasn't afraid to close her eyes. Because outside that door stood the Alpha King, her mate, and he had promised to protect her. Morning came soft and golden. Alyssa woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of light that didn't exist in basements. For 3 full seconds, she forgot where she was, forgot everything that had happened. Then memory crashed back like a wave. The gala, the fall, the silver knife burning against her skin, and him, Alpha King Ryden Blackwood, kneeling beside her bed, calling her his mate. Alyssa sat up slowly. Her shoulder ached where the glass had pierced it, but the wound had already closed to a thin pink line. Werewolf healing, even suppressed by years of poison, still worked faster than human recovery. The burns were different. The silver marks on her wrist and palm were dark and angry, healing slowly. Those would take days. Someone had left clothes folded on the chair beside the bed. Soft gray pants, a cream-colored sweater. Simple but clean, better quality than anything she'd worn in years. Alyssa dressed carefully, her movements stiff. When she opened the bedroom door, she half expected to find the hallway empty. Ryden was there. He sat on the floor back against the wall beside her door, long legs stretched out in front of him. His black shirt was wrinkled, his hair loose around his shoulders. He looked like he hadn't moved all night. His eyes opened the moment her door cracked. Amber met green. "You stayed," Alyssa whispered. "I said I would." Ryden stood in one fluid motion. "How do you feel?" "Sore, confused." She paused. "Safe." Something in his expression softened. "Good, that's good." They stood there for a moment, neither quite sure what to say. The mate bond hummed between them, a warmth Alyssa had never felt before. Not quite comfortable, not quite uncomfortable. Just present. "I need to ask you something," Ryden said finally, "and I need you to be honest, even if the truth is hard." Alyssa nodded. "The wolfsbane, the coffee your father gave you, do you still have access to it?" "There's a pot in the kitchen. He makes it fresh every morning, brings it to my room at 6. "Show me where the kitchen is." They walked through empty hallways. The lodge was quiet this early, most guests still sleeping off the previous night's celebration. Alyssa led him down 2 flights of stairs to the service level, where the main kitchen sprawled across 2,000 square feet of stainless steel and tile. Empty at this hour. The breakfast shift didn't start until 7. Alyssa crossed to a small alcove near the back. A coffee maker sat on the counter, the kind that brewed single cups. Beside it, a wooden box. Ryden opened the box. Inside were perhaps 30 small bottles, each labeled with different coffee varieties. Breakfast blend, French roast, Colombian dark. He picked up one labeled Alyssa's Morning Blend. The bottle was different from the others. Darker glass, a handwritten label instead of printed. Ryden unscrewed the cap and sniffed. His face went hard. "This isn't coffee." "What?" He held it out. Alyssa smelled it. Beneath the coffee aroma was something else. Something bitter and green, like crushed plants. Wolfsbane. "He wasn't adding it to the coffee," Ryden said quietly. "The entire bottle is poisoned with coffee scent to cover it. 3 drops of this every morning means you were ingesting pure wolfsbane." Alyssa's stomach turned. "For so long. We need to get this analyzed. Find out exactly what strain he was using. Some varieties cause permanent damage." Ryden pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. "I'm having Thorne pick this up. He'll take it to our pack healer for testing. Your pack is in Yellowstone territory. That's 2 hours away. He'll be here in 30 minutes. He left at dawn." Ryden pocketed the phone and turned to face her fully. "I also had him pull security footage from last night. I need you to watch it with me. But first I need you to eat something real. Something not poisoned." "I'm not hungry." "When was the last time you ate a full meal?" Alyssa thought about it. "Tuesday. That was 4 days ago." "I eat, just small amounts. It's easier on my stomach." Ryden's jaw clenched. "The wolfsbane suppresses appetite. That's intentional. He wanted you weak." He moved to the industrial refrigerator, pulling out eggs, cheese, vegetables. Within minutes, he had a pan heating on the stove, eggs scrambling, toast browning. "You cook?" Alyssa asked. "My mother taught me. She said a good alpha knows how to take care of his pack, and that starts with basic survival skills." He plated the food, set it in front of her. "Eat, please." The eggs were perfect, fluffy, seasoned with herbs she couldn't name. The cheese was sharp and rich. Alyssa ate slowly at first, then faster as her body remembered what real food tasted like. Ryden watched her with an expression she couldn't read. Satisfaction, maybe. Or relief. "Better?" he asked when she finished. "Much." "Good. Now I need to show you something. It's going to make you angry." He pulled out a tablet, queued up a video file. "This is security footage from last night, 30 minutes before you fell." The screen showed the ballroom from a high angle. Alyssa watched herself move through the crowd serving champagne, watched Chloe following behind her, staying just out of direct sight. "She was tracking you," Ryden said, "for 20 minutes before the incident." The footage jumped forward. Alyssa approaching the refreshment table. Chloe moving in from behind, hand extended. The shove was clear, deliberate, no question of accident. She pushed me, Alyssa whispered. Yes, and it gets worse. The footage continued. The fall, the glass shattering. Chloe approaching with that perfect mask of concern. Ryden zoomed in on Chloe's hands. The silver knife. Alyssa watched herself collapse, watched the smoke rising from her palm where silver met blood. Watched Chloe's face. The concern was fake. But underneath, visible for just a moment, when she thought no one was watching, was satisfaction. She enjoyed it, too. How many times? Ryden asked quietly. How many times has she done this? 6 times with silver, maybe more without. I stopped counting the bruises. Ryden closed the tablet. His hands were shaking. I'm going to have her arrested. You can't. Marcus will claim it was an accident. That I'm lying. He's an alpha. I'm nobody. You're not nobody. You're my mate. And I have evidence. Evidence from last night, not the other times. And assault charges against the daughter-in-law of an alpha will start a political war. I don't care about politics. You should. Alyssa met his eyes. Because if you arrest Chloe, Marcus will retaliate. And people will die. Your people. Mine. Is that worth it? Ryden was quiet for a long moment. What do you want me to do? I want you to find out why. Why he poisoned me. Why he kept me weak. It wasn't just cruelty. Marcus doesn't do anything without a reason. You think there's more to this? I know there is. Something happened all those years ago. The same time he killed your mother. The same time my mother died. The same time he started poisoning me. It's all connected. A knock at the kitchen door interrupted them. Investigator Thorne entered a large manila folder under his arm. AlphaKing, he said, nodding respectfully. Then to Alyssa, Miss Hartwin. Just Alyssa. Thorne's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes warmed slightly. Alyssa, I have the preliminary financial report you requested. He spread documents across the counter. Bank statements, property deeds, investment records. Marcus Hartwin's finances are interesting, Thorne said. Years back, he was in debt, $700,000, mostly from bad investments. Then suddenly, in the same month Alyssa's mother died, he received a massive influx of cash, $1.8 million. Alyssa's breath caught. My mother's money. Your mother was wealthy. She inherited a trust fund from her parents. I remember her talking about it when I was little. She said it was for Garrett and me, for college, for our futures. Marcus claimed it, Thorne said. As her surviving spouse, he had legal right to her assets. He used it to pay off his debts and invest in new properties. He's worth approximately $4 million now. So he profited from her death, Ryden said. That's not illegal, but this is. Thorne pulled out another document. The debt contract Alyssa supposedly signed. I had our legal team examine it. The signature is forged. Alyssa stared at the paper. But I remember signing something. You signed a document, but not this one. The contract Marcus presented to the council has been backdated and altered. The original was probably something innocuous. A school form, a permission slip. He traced your signature onto this contract later. Can you prove it? Handwriting analysis says 97% probability of forgery. The ink dates to 6 months ago, not years back. And the paper stock wasn't manufactured until 2020. It's fake. Ryden looked at Alyssa. He enslaved you with a forged document. That's illegal even by PAC law. We can invalidate the debt. Do it, Alyssa said. I want that contract declared void. It'll be done by noon. Thorne gathered the documents. But there's something else, something bigger. He pulled out a photograph, old, faded. Showed 2 couples standing together smiling at the camera. Alyssa recognized her mother immediately. Young, maybe 25, blonde and beautiful. Beside her stood Marcus, equally young, his face not yet hardened by whatever darkness lived in him now. The other couple she didn't recognize at first. Then she saw the woman's eyes. Golden eyes. Is that your mother? She asked Ryden. Yes, Queen Alara, and my father King Damon. Why were our parents together? Because decades ago Silverpine and Nightshade weren't enemies, Thorne said. They were allies, close allies. Your parents and Ryden's parents were friends. Alyssa stared at the photograph. Her mother's arm was around Queen Alara's shoulders. They were laughing at something off camera. What happened? She whispered. That's what I'm trying to find out, Thorne said. But years back, something changed. Marcus attacked Nightshade, killed the queen. The alliance shattered, And 6 months later, your mother died in what was ruled a car accident. You think it wasn't an accident? I think Marcus has been hiding something, and I think your mother knew what it was. Ryden took the photograph, studying it closely. My mother never spoke about Marcus with hatred. Even after the alliance ended, she said he'd changed, that something had broken inside him. She pitied him. Did she say what changed him? No, she died before I was old enough to ask the right questions. Alyssa reached for the photograph, looked at her mother's face. So young, so happy. I need to talk to my father, she said. Absolutely not, Ryden said immediately. It's not safe. He won't hurt me in public, not with witnesses. And if we're going to find out what happened, he's the only one who knows. I'll be with you. That'll make him defensive. He needs to think he still has power over me. Alyssa handed back the photograph. I can do this. Ryden looked at her for a long moment. You're stronger than he made you believe, aren't you? I survived years of poison. I think I can survive a conversation. Fine, but Thorne stays within earshot. And if Marcus does anything at all, you run. Agreed. They found Marcus in his suite on the 3rd floor. He answered the door himself, wearing a crisp white shirt and dark slacks. Those storm gray eyes swept over Alyssa, then Ryden, then back to Alyssa. I see you've chosen to stay with the Alpha King, he said. His tone was neutral, pleasant even. I need to talk to you, Alyssa said. Alone. Marcus glanced at Ryden. Does your mate approve of this conversation? She doesn't need my approval, Ryden said, but I'll be right outside, remember that. He stepped back, positioning himself in the hallway where he could see the door but couldn't hear clearly. Thorne moved to the opposite end of the hall. Marcus gestured Alyssa inside. The suite was larger than the one she'd slept in, more luxurious. Marcus had always preferred the best of everything. Sit, he said, indicating a leather chair. Alyssa remained standing. I know about the forged contract. Marcus didn't react, didn't even blink. I don't know what you're talking about. The debt, $680,000. The signature is fake. The document is fake. You enslaved me with a forgery. Careful, Alyssa. Accusing your Alpha of forgery is a serious charge. You're not my Alpha anymore. I'm Ryden's mate. That transfers my pack allegiance to Nightshade. Something flickered in Marcus's eyes. Anger quickly suppressed. Is that what he told you? That the bond transfers allegiance automatically? It doesn't. Not until you're officially mated. Not until you accept him publicly. Right now, you're still Silverpine. Still mine. I'll never be yours again. We'll see. Marcus poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter. Whiskey from the smell. Was there anything else? Or did you just come here to make accusations you can't prove? I came to ask about my mother. Marcus's hand stilled on the glass, just for a second, but Alyssa saw it. Your mother died in a car accident. Tragic, but these things happen. The same year you killed Queen Alara. I did no such thing. Ryden was there. He watched you murder her. Marcus took a long drink. When he set the glass down, his hand was perfectly steady. The boy was 14, in shock. He saw what he wanted to see. He saw you cut her throat. He saw an intruder, a man in black. It was dark, chaotic. He assumed it was me because I'm the convenient villain. Marcus moved to the window, looking out at the mountains. Did your precious mate tell you the whole story? Did he tell you what really happened that night? Tell me. No, if you want the truth, ask him. Ask him why I was there. Ask him what his mother did to deserve what happened. She did nothing. She was innocent. Marcus laughed. It was a cold sound. Innocent. Is that what he told you? That his sainted mother was an innocent victim? What are you saying? I'm saying that sometimes the stories we tell ourselves about the past are easier than the truth. He turned back to face her. Your mother knew. She knew everything. And it got her killed. Alyssa's heart was pounding. You killed her. I loved her. Despite everything, I loved her. And I lost her anyway. Because you're a murderer. Because I made choices I thought were right. Because I tried to protect what mattered. And I failed. He picked up his glass again. The wolfsbane was mercy, Alyssa. You think I was poisoning you, but I was protecting you. Protecting me from what? From yourself, from what you are, from what would happen if anyone found out. Found out what? Marcus drained his glass. This conversation is over. Get out. Tell me what I am. You want the truth? Fine, your mother wasn't just wealthy. She was powerful. Ancient bloodline. Rare gifts. And she passed them to you. The wolfsbane kept those gifts dormant. Kept you safe. Kept everyone safe. What gifts? Ask your mate. He's already figured it out. I can see it in the way he looks at you. Marcus moved to the door, opened it. Now leave. Before I change my mind about being civil, Alyssa walked to the door, stopped beside him. The debt is void, she said quietly. The contract is fake, and I'm never coming back to that basement. You have no power over me anymore. We'll see about that, Marcus said, because in 3 days there's a council meeting, and I'm going to call for a formal investigation into your bond with the Alpha King. I'm going to prove it's false. Political manipulation. And when I do, you'll come home. Where you belong. He closed the door in her face. Ryden was beside her immediately. What did he say? Alyssa told him everything. About the conversation, about Marcus's claims that he was protecting her, about the gifts her mother supposedly passed down. He's lying, Ryden said, trying to justify the unjustifiable. Is he? You've been looking at me differently since last night, like you see something I don't. What is it? They were standing in the hallway. Guests were starting to emerge from their rooms heading to breakfast. This wasn't the place for this conversation. Come with me, Ryden said. He led her outside down a path that wound through pine trees to a clearing overlooking the valley. The morning sun turned the mountains gold. Last night, Ryden said, when you passed out from the silver poisoning, right before you lost consciousness. Do you remember anything unusual? I remember pain, I remember falling, then nothing. The healer said your vitals spiked, heart rate, blood pressure, adrenaline, all through the ceiling, and for just a second she said your eyes changed color. Alyssa stared at him. Changed how? They flashed purple, just for a second, then you were out. That's not possible. Wolves have yellow eyes when they shift, or amber, never purple. Exactly. Ryden pulled out his phone, showed her a photograph. This is from the wall in your room. Look at the corner. The photograph showed a section of stone wall, and in the bottom corner, barely visible, was a small crack. And in the center of the crack, faint but unmistakable, was a symbol, a crescent moon. That wasn't there before last night, Ryden said. I had Thorne check the original construction photos. That mark appeared when you collapsed. I don't understand. Neither did I until I talked to Elder Miriam this morning, the oldest living wolf in the Western Territories, 75 years old, keeper of histories. If anyone knows about unusual wolf phenomena, it's her. Ryden pocketed his phone. I described what happened, the purple eyes, the crescent moon mark, the way my wolf submitted to your presence without conscious thought. He paused. She said there's only one explanation. You're not an Omega, Alyssa. You're the opposite. You're a lunar alpha. A what? An alpha born under a blood moon, chosen by the moon goddess herself. They appear once every 1,000 years. They're the most powerful wolves in existence. They can command other alphas, heal fatal wounds, and if they lose control, they can destroy everything within miles. Alyssa's legs felt weak. She sat down on a nearby boulder. You're saying I'm this lunar alpha. I'm saying it's possible. The purple eyes, the crescent mark, the way even the weakest touch triggers a reaction. All signs. But I can't even shift. How can I be some powerful alpha if I can't shift? Because you've been poisoned for so long. Marcus said he was protecting you, protecting everyone. He might have been telling the truth about that part. If you're a lunar alpha and you lost control, the destruction would be catastrophic. Alyssa looked at her hands. They looked normal, weak, scarred from silver burns. What happens now? She asked. Elder Miriam is coming this afternoon. She needs to examine you in person to confirm it. If you really are what I think you are, everything changes. How, Min? Because a lunar alpha can't be owned, can't be enslaved, even by her own father. The moon goddess herself chose you. That supersedes all pack law. Alyssa wanted to believe that, wanted to believe she was something more than the worthless creature her father had made her believe she was. But years of conditioning were hard to shake. And if she confirms it, Alyssa asked, what then? Then we have 3 days before the full moon. 3 days to teach you control. Because when the moon rises, your wolf will emerge whether you're ready or not. Ryden sat beside her on the boulder. But whatever happens, you are not alone anymore. Remember that. Alyssa leaned against him just slightly. He was warm, solid, real. I'm scared, she whispered. So am I, but we'll figure it out. Together. They sat in silence for a while, watching the sun climb higher over the mountains. Neither of them saw Marcus watching from his third-floor window. Neither of them heard the phone call he made. It's happening sooner than I planned, Marcus said into the phone. But it doesn't matter. She doesn't know what she is yet. She can't control it. And when she loses control, everyone will see. They'll see that I was right to keep her contained. He hung up. The council hearing was in 3 hours, and Marcus had a lot to prepare. The council chamber was built into the mountain itself. Carved stone walls rose 20 feet high, lit by iron chandeliers that hung from timber beams. 12 seats formed a semicircle at the front of the room, each one occupied by a council member representing the major packs of the Western Territories. Alyssa stood in the center of the chamber floor feeling very small. 200 witnesses filled the gallery behind her. Pack members, alphas, elders, all here to watch her life be dissected and judged. Ryden stood to her right, close enough that she could feel his presence but not touching. That had been deliberate. Any show of the mate bond before it was officially confirmed would be seen as manipulation. Marcus sat in the front row of the gallery, Chloe beside him. Both wore expressions of somber concern, perfect masks. At the center seat of the council sat Councillor Draven. 60 years old, silver hair, cut military, short face carved into harsh angles. His dark eyes swept the room with cold assessment. This emergency session is now in order, Draven said. His voice carried easily through the chamber. We are here to investigate claims made by Alpha Marcus Hartwin of the Silver Pine Pack regarding his daughter Alyssa Hartwin and her alleged mate bond with AlphaKing Ryden Blackwood of Nightshade. He looked directly at Alyssa. Miss Hartwin, do you claim to be the mate of the AlphaKing? Alyssa's throat was dry. She'd rehearsed this moment with Ryden 100 times in the past 3 hours. But standing here with 200 eyes on her, the words almost wouldn't come. I do, she said. Her voice was quieter than she wanted, smaller. Speak up, the wolf inside her whispered. For the first time in so many years, that voice was there, faint, distant, but present. I do, Alyssa repeated louder this time. I am his mate. And when did you first become aware of this bond? Last night at the gala, when the AlphaKing touched me after I fell. Draven made a note on the tablet in front of him. Prior to last night, had you ever met AlphaKing Blackwood? No, I'd seen him from a distance, but we'd never spoken. Yet you expect this council to believe that a bond formed instantaneously, based on a single touch. That's how mate bonds work, Ryden said. His voice was calm, measured, but there was steel underneath. The council knows this. The council knows that mate bonds can also be fabricated, Draven replied, especially when one party has significant political motivation. What motivation would I have? Destabilizing the Silver Pine Pack. Marcus Hartwin has been alpha for 20 years. His leadership has brought prosperity and strength. But if you can claim his daughter as your mate, you create a bridge between Silver Pine and Nightshade, a bridge you control. I'm not interested in controlling Silver Pine. Then why claim the bond at all? You're the AlphaKing. You could have any unmated female in the territories. Why choose the daughter of your mother's murderer? The chamber went silent. Alyssa felt the words like a physical blow. Daughter of a murderer, that's what she was to them. Not a person, not a victim. Just the child of the man who killed the queen. I didn't choose the bond, Ryden said quietly. The moon goddess did. I don't question her wisdom. How convenient. Draven turned to Marcus. Alpha Hartwin, please present your evidence. Marcus stood. He looked older in the harsh light, tired, but his voice was strong. Years ago, my mate died in a tragic accident. She left behind 2 children, Garrett and Alyssa. I raised them both as best I could. Garrett grew into a fine young man and warrior. He died 3 years ago in a hunting accident. Marcus paused. Grief flickered across his face. Real or performed, Alyssa couldn't tell. Alyssa was different, he continued. From birth, her wolf was weak, silent. She couldn't shift, couldn't access even basic wolf abilities. I did everything I could to help her. Special treatments, healers, nothing worked. That's a lie, Alyssa said. Draven held up a hand. You'll have your chance to speak. Alpha Hartwin has the floor. Marcus nodded his thanks. 2 years ago, Alyssa began showing signs of instability, mood swings, violent outbursts. I consulted with pack healers. They recommended a structured environment, work to focus her mind, routine to stabilize her emotions. You enslaved me, Alyssa said. You made me work 16 hours a day for almost nothing. I gave you purpose, Marcus replied, and I gave you a contract, a legal agreement that you signed willingly. He produced a document, handed it to Draven. This contract states that Alyssa would work to repay the costs of her care and treatment, $680,000 over the years. She signed it, Her signature is right there. Draven examined the contract. The signature appears genuine. It's forged, Alyssa said. I was 7 years old. I didn't understand what I was signing. A 7-year-old can't enter a binding contract, Ryden added. Council law is clear on this. Unless that 7-year-old has a legal guardian who approves the contract, Draven said, which Marcus did. As her father, he had the right to bind her to service. I had that contract analyzed, Ryden said. He nodded to Thorn, who stepped forward with a folder. The signature is traced. The ink dates to 6 months ago, not years back. The paper stock wasn't manufactured until 2020. It's a complete fabrication. Draven took the analysis report. Read it. His expression didn't change. These findings are inconclusive, he said. The signature could have been re-inked for clarity. The paper could have been replaced due to damage. This proves nothing. It proves Marcus is a liar, Alyssa said. It proves you're desperate to escape your obligations, Marcus replied calmly. And you saw an opportunity. The Alpha King attended the gala. You threw yourself at him, literally. That fall wasn't an accident. You staged it to get his attention. I was pushed. By whom? Alyssa looked at Chloe. By her. Chloe's eyes widened. Perfect shock. Perfect innocence. That's not true. I tried to help you. You were falling and I reached out to catch you. You had a silver knife. You burned me with it. I was cutting garnish for drinks. When you fell, I still had the knife in my hand. It was an accident. Show them the footage, Ryden said. Thorn pulled out a tablet, queued up the security video. The council members leaned forward to watch. The footage showed exactly what happened. Alyssa approaching the table. Chloe moving in from behind. The shove, the fall, the knife. As you can see, Thorn said, the push was deliberate, and the knife was used intentionally on an open wound. Draven watched the footage twice, then he looked at Chloe. Miss Hartwin, can you explain this? Chloe's mask didn't crack. The camera angle is misleading. I was reaching for Alyssa to steady her. She moved unexpectedly. My hand caught her shoulder. As for the knife, you can see, I pulled it away immediately once I realized what happened. After you pressed it into her wound for 5 seconds, Ryden said. I was in shock. Everything happened so fast. Alyssa wanted to scream. The footage showed everything. How could they not see it? But looking at the council members' faces, she understood. They didn't want to see it. Chloe was the widow of a respected pack warrior. Alyssa was nobody, the daughter of an alpha who had raised questions about her stability. The scales were already tipped. The footage is inconclusive, Draven said. It could be interpreted multiple ways. Then interpret this, Ryden said. He nodded to Thorn again. Thorn produced a vial, clear liquid, faintly green. This is the coffee Marcus gave Alyssa every morning for years. It's not coffee. It's pure wolfsbane, concentrated enough to kill a full-grown wolf in 3 doses. Alyssa took it every day. Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Draven took the vial, sniffed it. His expression darkened. Alpha Hartwin, why were you poisoning your daughter? Marcus didn't hesitate. Because I had to. The chamber went silent. Explain, Draven said. Marcus stood, walked to the center of the floor beside Alyssa. Up close, she could see the lines around his eyes, the gray in his hair. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in years. My mate Catherine came from an ancient bloodline, Marcus said. The lunar line. Once every 1,000 years, that bloodline produces a lunar alpha. A wolf blessed by the moon goddess with extraordinary power. Power that can heal. Power that can destroy. Power that, if left unchecked, can level cities. More murmurs, louder now. Catherine was not a lunar alpha, but she carried the gene, and she passed it to Alyssa. Alyssa's world tilted. You're lying. I wish I was. Marcus looked at her, and for the first time in so many years, she saw something other than coldness in his eyes. Regret. When you were 3 years old, you had a nightmare. You screamed, and the windows in your room exploded. All of them, at once, glass everywhere. You were standing in the center of the room, eyes glowing purple power radiating off you like heat. He turned back to the council. Catherine and I were terrified. We consulted with the eldest healers. They confirmed it. Alyssa was a lunar alpha, but her power was unstable, uncontrolled. If she shifted, if her wolf fully emerged, the destruction could be catastrophic. So you poisoned her, Draven said. I suppressed her, kept her wolf dormant. It was the only way to keep everyone safe, including Alyssa herself. You kept me weak, Alyssa said. Her voice was shaking. You kept me a prisoner. You let Chloe torture me. You made me believe I was worthless. I kept you alive, Marcus replied. Do you think the council would have let a lunar alpha live free? They would have locked you away. Or worse, the wolfsbane was mercy. It was abuse. It was protection. Enough, Draven's voice cut through the argument. If what you say is true, Alpha Hartwin, then Alyssa Hartwin represents a significant threat to every pack in the territories. A lunar alpha who can't control her power is a weapon waiting to explode. Which is why she needs to return to my custody, Marcus said. I can keep her contained, keep the wolfsbane doses steady, prevent any accidental release of power. No, Raiden said. She's my mate. She stays with me. Your mate bond is convenient timing, Draven said. How do we know you didn't fabricate it to gain control of a lunar alpha's power? Because the bond is real, any wolf can sense it. And then prove it, right here, right now. Raiden turned to Alyssa. Those golden eyes met her green ones. May I? He asked quietly. Alyssa understood what he was asking. A public display of the mate bond. Physical contact that would trigger the unmistakable pull between true mates. She nodded. Raiden stepped closer, lifted his hand to her face. His palm cupped her cheek thumb, brushing her cheekbone. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Heat flooded through Alyssa's body. Not sexual heat, something deeper, more fundamental. Like every cell recognized his touch and sang in response. Her eyes closed involuntarily. A soft sound escaped her throat. Raiden's breathing changed, deepened. His hand trembled slightly against her skin. The bond blazed between them, visible even to those without direct connection. A shimmer in the air, a charge like static electricity. Like the first rain after a long drought, Raiden murmured. I smell it every time. Alyssa opened her eyes. His face was inches from hers. Those eyes, like molten amber, were burning now, wolf right at the surface. Cedar and smoke, she whispered. Winter air, clean and sharp. The chamber was silent. 200 witnesses watching something sacred, something that couldn't be faked. Draven cleared his throat. The bond appears genuine. Marcus stood abruptly. Then we have an even bigger problem. A lunar alpha bonded to the most powerful alpha in the territories. That's not security. That's a catastrophe waiting to happen. Or it's exactly what the moon goddess intended, said a new voice. Everyone turned. An old woman stood in the chamber entrance. 75 years old, white hair falling to her waist, eyes so pale they were almost colorless. She wore simple robes and leaned on a gnarled walking stick. Elder Miriam, keeper of histories, the oldest living wolf in the Western Territories. Elder Draven said, standing. We didn't expect you. I was summoned. Miriam walked slowly to the center of the chamber, her eyes fixed on Alyssa. By the moon goddess herself. She stopped in front of Alyssa, reached out with one wrinkled hand and pressed her palm to Alyssa's forehead. The world exploded into purple light. Alyssa gasped. Images flooded her mind. Not her memories. Something older, ancient. A woman standing on a mountain peak under a blood moon. White wolf beside her, purple eyes glowing, cities rising at her command. Wastelands blooming under her touch. And then darkness. Death. Destruction. The woman screaming as her power consumed her from the inside out. The vision ended. Alyssa staggered. Raiden caught her before she fell. Miriam's face was grim. She is Lunar Alpha, the elder confirmed. The first in 973 years. Her power is dormant now, suppressed by years of poison. But it's awakening. I can feel it stirring. Can she control it? Draven asked. That depends. A Lunar Alpha needs 3 things to master their power. Knowledge, training, and balance. Balance, a mate, someone to anchor them, to pull them back when the power threatens to overwhelm. Miriam looked at Raiden. The moon goddess does not make mistakes. She bound this lunar alpha to the strongest alpha in the territories for a reason. How long before her power fully awakens? Marcus asked. His voice was strained. 3 days, maybe 4. When the next full moon rises, her wolf will emerge whether she's ready or not. And if she can't control it, Miriam trailed off. How bad? Draven pressed. The last uncontrolled lunar alpha destroyed everything within 10 miles. 20,000 dead in a single night. The gallery erupted, voices shouting, some calling for Alyssa to be locked away immediately, others demanding she be executed before the full moon. Alyssa stood in the center of the chaos, her whole body numb. 20,000 dead. That's what she could become. A weapon? A monster. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe the wolfsbane was mercy. Order, Draven shouted. It took several minutes for the chamber to quiet. Elder Miriam is there any way to prevent the awakening. Continued wolfsbane poisoning, but after so many years of suppression, the awakening is inevitable. The poison only delays it and makes it more dangerous when it finally breaks through. Then what do you recommend? Training. Intensive training with someone who understands ancient power. And the mate bond must be completed. Fully. The anchor must be strong. She looked at Ryden and Alyssa. You have 3 days to prepare her. 3 days to teach her control. 3 days before she either masters her power or destroys us all. Marcus stepped forward. This is madness. You're gambling with thousands of lives. Let me continue the wolfsbane treatments. Keep her suppressed until we find a permanent solution. There is no permanent solution, Miriam said. The power will emerge. The only question is whether she's ready when it does. I vote we lock her in containment, said Counselor Vance, a heavy-set man in his 50s. Reinforced silver cage, underground. Let the awakening happen there where she can't hurt anyone. And condemn her to a lifetime of imprisonment. Ryden's voice was dangerous. She's not a criminal. She's a threat. She's a person, my mate. And I will not let you cage her like an animal. You don't have a choice, Draven said. This council has jurisdiction over threats to pack safety. If we deem Alyssa Hartwin too dangerous to... He never finished the sentence, because Alyssa's eyes flashed purple. Not a flicker. A blaze bright enough that people in the gallery shielded their eyes. Energy rippled out from her body. Not a burst like before. A wave. Controlled. Deliberate. Every wolf in the chamber felt their own wolf submit. Instinctive. Undeniable. The lunar alpha was waking and every wolf recognized her dominance. The counselors, all powerful alphas in their own right, felt their wolves bow their heads. Even Ryden's wolf acknowledged her. Though his didn't bow. His stood beside hers. Equal. Partner. The purple light faded. Alyssa swayed, suddenly exhausted. But when she spoke, her voice was steady. I'm not going in a cage. I'm not taking more poison. And I'm not running away from what I am. She looked at each council member in turn. You want to know if I can control this power I don't know. I'm terrified, but I'd rather die trying to master it than live the rest of my life suppressed and imprisoned. She turned to Ryden. If you're willing to help me, I'll do whatever training is necessary. I'll work every hour of the next 3 days. And when the full moon rises, I'll either prove I can control this, or I'll prove Marcus was right to keep me locked away. I'm with you, Ryden said immediately. Whatever you need. Then we have an agreement, Miriam said. 3 days of training. When the full moon rises, Alyssa will demonstrate control. If she succeeds, the council will recognize her right to live free. If she fails, I'll lock myself away, Alyssa said, permanently. No one else will be hurt by my power. Draven looked at the other council members. Silent communication passed between them. The council will allow this, he said finally. 3 days. But Alyssa Hartwin will be monitored at all times. And at the first sign of uncontrolled power release, we will intervene. Agreed, Ryden said. One more thing, Draven added. The mate bond must be completed before the full moon. Elder Miriam says she needs an anchor. Half a bond won't be enough. Alyssa understood what he meant. Completing the bond meant the mating ceremony. Public claim, physical union, permanent binding of their wolves. She looked at Ryden. Is that okay with you? Is it okay with you? I won't force this, bond or no bond, I'll help you. But if we complete it now, it should be because you want it, not because the council demands it. Alyssa thought about the past years, the basement, the poison, the burns, the endless crushing loneliness. And then she thought about last night, waking up in clean sheets, eating real food, having someone stand guard outside her door just to keep her safe. She thought about Ryden's hand on her cheek, the warmth of the bond, the way he looked at her like she mattered. I want it, she said, not because they demand it, because I choose it. Then it's settled, Draven said. 3 days of training, then the mating ceremony, then the full moon, and we'll see if the moon goddess chose wisely. He banged his gavel. This session is adjourned. The gallery erupted again, this time in conversation rather than argument. People filed out voices, raised debating what they'd just witnessed. Marcus approached Alyssa. Ryden moved to intercept, but Alyssa held up a hand. Let him come. You think you've won, Marcus said quietly, but you have no idea what you're unleashing. That power inside you, it destroyed your mother. It will destroy you too. What do you mean it destroyed my mother? Marcus's face was haggard. Why do you think she died in a car accident? She didn't. She lost control. One moment of rage, one surge of power, and the car flipped 6 times. The power burned through her from the inside out. She was dead before the car stopped rolling. Alyssa's breath caught. You're lying. I'm telling you the truth because you need to understand. That power is a curse, Alyssa. It will take everything from you, everyone you love. And in 3 days, when the full moon rises and you lose control, you'll finally understand why I did what I did. He turned and walked away, Chloe following. Alyssa stood there shaking. Raiden's hand found hers. He's wrong. You're not your mother. You're stronger than he knows. Am I? Because right now I feel like I'm about to fall apart. Then lean on me. That's what mates do. Elder Miriam approached. You did well. The display of power was controlled. Instinctive, but controlled. That's a good sign. It didn't feel controlled. It felt like something else was doing it. Your wolf, she's waking up. And she's already stronger than you realize. Miriam tapped her walking stick against the stone floor. We begin training at dawn. Be ready. The next 3 days will be the hardest of your life. Harder than all those years of poison. Miriam's pale eyes studied her. Much harder, because this time you're not just surviving, you're learning to live. And living takes far more courage than surviving ever did. She walked away, leaving Alyssa and Raiden alone in the empty council chamber. 3 days, Alyssa said. 3 days, Raiden agreed. Think we can do it? We have to, because the alternative is a cage, or death, and I'm done with cages. Raiden pulled her close. She rested her forehead against his chest, breathing in cedar and smoke. Whatever happens, he said quietly, you're not alone anymore. Remember that. I'll try. Outside, the sun was setting behind the mountains. In 3 days, the full moon would rise, and Alyssa would either prove she could master the power of a lunar alpha, or she would become exactly what Marcus feared. Dawn came cold and clear. Alyssa stood in a clearing, deep in the pine forest mist, rising from the ground like ghosts. Elder Miriam sat on a flat boulder, 50 feet away, watching with those pale, ancient eyes. Again, Miriam said. Alyssa closed her eyes, tried to find that place inside herself where the wolf lived, where the power slept. Nothing. I can't feel anything, Alyssa said. Frustration edged her voice. Because you're trying too hard. The power doesn't respond to force. It responds to acceptance. Miriam stood leaning heavily on her walking stick. For years you've been told your wolf is broken. Dead. You believed that lie so deeply it became true. Now you must unlearn it. How about Miriam? By remembering what you are. Close your eyes again. This time don't search for the wolf. Remember her. Alyssa closed her eyes. You were 3 years old, Miriam said. Her voice was soft now, hypnotic. You had a nightmare. Do you remember what you dreamed? Alyssa frowned. She did remember. Fragments, a dark forest, something chasing her. The fear had been overwhelming. You screamed, Miriam continued, and the windows exploded. Not because you willed it, because your wolf protected you. She's been protecting you your whole life, even silenced, even suppressed. She never left. She's been waiting. Alyssa felt something, a flutter deep in her chest, like a heartbeat that wasn't her own. There, Miriam said. Do you feel her? Yes. Don't grab for her. Don't try to control her. Just acknowledge her. Let her know you're listening. The flutter grew stronger. Not painful, just present, real. Alyssa opened her eyes. They were glowing faintly purple. Good, Miriam said. That's enough for today. Tomorrow we'll go further. That's it. I barely felt anything. You felt everything that matters. You felt your wolf. After years of believing she was dead, you felt her alive. Miriam smiled. It made her look decades younger. That is progress, child. Don't dismiss it. Footsteps approached through the trees. Raiden emerged carrying 2 thermoses and what looked like sandwiches wrapped in paper. How did it go? He asked. She made contact, Miriam said. Brief but real. Your mate is stronger than she knows. Raiden handed Alyssa a thermos. Coffee, real coffee, no wolfsbane. Alyssa took it, the warmth seeping into her cold hands. Thank you. I'm going back to my cabin, Miriam said. Rest both of you. We train again at dawn tomorrow, and the day after, and then... She looked up at the sky. Then the moon rises, and we'll see what you've learned. She walked away, disappearing into the mist like she'd never been there at all. Alyssa sat on the boulder Miriam had vacated, sipped the coffee. It was perfect, strong, sweet, exactly how she liked it, even though she'd never told Raiden her preference. How did you know? She asked. Know how I like my coffee. Raiden sat beside her. I watched you this morning. You added 2 sugars and cream. I remembered. Something warm bloomed in Alyssa's chest. It had nothing to do with the coffee. You pay attention to everything, don't you? When it comes to you, yes. Ryden unwrapped a sandwich, handed her half. Turkey and Swiss. I didn't know what you liked, so I guessed. It's perfect. They ate in comfortable silence. Around them, the forest was waking up. Birds calling, squirrels chattering, life continuing as it always had, oblivious to the fact that in 2 days, a lunar alpha would either rise or destroy them all. Can I ask you something? Alyssa said. Anything. Your mother. What was she like? Ryden was quiet for a moment. Kind. That's the word I always come back to. She was kind. Even when she had to be firm, even when she was delivering judgment as queen, there was kindness underneath. He stared into his coffee. She used to say that power without compassion was tyranny, that the strong existed to protect the weak, not exploit them. She lived that, every day. I wish I could have met her. She would have liked you, would have recognized the strength in you that your father tried to kill. Ryden looked at Alyssa. She used to tell me that the moon goddess never makes mistakes, that every wolf is exactly where they're supposed to be even when it doesn't make sense. Do you believe that? I didn't. Not after she died. I thought the goddess had abandoned us, let evil win. He reached out, tucked a strand of blonde hair behind Alyssa's ear. But then I found you, and I started to think maybe my mother was right. Maybe this is exactly where we're both supposed to be. Alyssa leaned into his touch. Even if I lose control in 2 days, even if I become the monster Marcus says I am, you won't. You can't know that. I can, because I've seen you, Alyssa. Really seen you. And there's no monster there. Just a woman who survived years of torture and came out the other side still capable of kindness, still willing to smile at a crying child, still able to love despite everything. Tears burned in Alyssa's eyes. I don't know if I can do this. So yes, you can. And you won't do it alone. Ryden took her hand. I'll be with you every step, every breath, every heartbeat. You're not alone anymore. Alyssa kissed him. It wasn't planned, wasn't thought through. She just leaned in and pressed her lips to his tasting coffee and promise, and something that felt like home. Ryden froze for half a second. Then his hand came up to cup her face and he kissed her back with a gentleness that made her chest ache. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Ryden rested his forehead against hers. We should probably wait, he said, until after the ceremony. Make it official. I know, but I wanted to do that at least once, just in case. There's no just in case. You're going to survive this. You're going to master your power, and then we're going to have a very long, very happy life together. Promise. I promise. They sat there until the sun burned off the mist, holding hands, neither one wanting to break the moment. That night, as Alyssa was getting ready for bed and her sweet, urgent knocking rattled her door, she opened it to find Thorn, his expression grim. Ryden needs you in his office, now. Alyssa threw on a robe and followed him through the halls. They entered Ryden's private study to find him standing over a desk covered in photographs and documents. What's wrong? Alyssa asked. Ryden looked up. His eyes were hard. Marcus is planning something. Thorn intercepted communications between him and someone outside the lodge. They're planning to take you tomorrow night, before the ceremony. Alyssa's blood ran cold. How dusto? Mercenaries, rogues, 6 of them. They'll attack during the evening meal when everyone's distracted. Grab you and run. Thorn pointed to a map on the desk. They have an extraction point here 3 miles east. Helicopter waiting. We need to tell the council, Alyssa said. No, Ryden's voice was flat. The council will use this as proof that you're too dangerous to live free. They'll lock you up immediately. So what do? We set a trap. Ryden looked at Thorn. Can you have our people in position by tomorrow evening? Absolutely. Do it, but quietly. I don't want anyone knowing except us 3. What about me? Alyssa asked. What do I do? You act like nothing's wrong. Eat dinner. Stay in public view. And when they make their move, Ryden's eyes flashed gold. We'll be ready. The next evening came. Alyssa sat in the dining hall, forcing herself to eat while her stomach churned. Around her, guests laughed and talked, oblivious. She felt them before she saw them. 6 men, moving through the crowd with purpose. Their eyes locked on her. Alyssa stood, started to back away. They lunged. The first one grabbed her arm. Alyssa screamed. Ryden appeared out of nowhere, moving with inhuman speed. He grabbed the rogue by the throat and threw him 15 feet into a stone pillar. The impact was sickening. The other 5 rogues shifted mid-stride wolves, now teeth bared. Ryden shifted too. His black wolf was massive, easily twice the size of the rogues. He tore into them with savage efficiency, but one got past him, lunged for Alyssa. Time slowed. Alyssa felt her wolf surge to the surface, not fully, not shifting, but present. Powerful. Her eyes blazed purple. Energy exploded from her hands, slamming into the attacking wolf and sending it crashing through a window. Glass shattered. The wolf didn't get up. The remaining rogues, seeing what she was, turned and ran. Raiden shifted back to human, breathing hard, covered in blood that wasn't his. He crossed to Alyssa in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. Are you hurt? No, I'm okay. Alyssa looked at her hands. They were glowing faintly purple. I did that. I actually did that. You protected yourself. That's what your wolf does. She protects you. Around them, the dining hall had erupted into chaos. Guests screaming, guards running. But Alyssa didn't care. Because for the first time in her life, she'd felt powerful instead of powerless. And it felt right. The next morning, Alyssa trained with Miriam again. This time when she reached for her wolf, the connection came easier, faster. Her eyes glowed purple for a full minute before fading. Excellent, Miriam said. You're progressing faster than I expected. By tomorrow night, you should be ready. After training, the Dryden walked Alyssa back to the lodge. They took the long way through the forest, not talking, just being together. Can I tell you something? Raiden said finally. Of course. I've memorized everything about you. Alyssa looked at him. What? Everything. The way you tuck your hair behind your left ear when you're nervous. The way you bite your bottom lip when you're thinking. The fact that you always take 3 sips of coffee before setting the cup down. The way you smile with just the left side of your mouth when you're amused but trying not to show it. He stopped walking, turned to face her. I know you prefer morning to evening, that you hum when you think no one's listening, that you have a small scar on your right ankle from when you were 6 and fell off a swing, that you sleep on your left side, that you dream in color, that you're stronger than anyone, including yourself, has ever given you credit for. Alyssa's eyes were burning. How do you know all that? Because I pay attention, because every moment with you matters, because I don't want to miss a single detail of who you are. Why? Because I love you. The words hung in the air between them. You don't have to say it back, Raiden continued quickly. I know it's fast. I know we barely know each other. But I needed you to know, before tomorrow, before everything changes. I needed you to know that I love you. Not because you're a lunar alpha, not because of the bond, but because you're you, Alyssa. The woman who survived hell and came out still capable of kindness, still capable of hope. I love you. Alyssa kissed him, hard, desperate. When they broke apart, she was crying. I love you too, she whispered. I don't know how or why, but I do. I love you. They held each other in the middle of the forest, the sun filtering through the trees, neither one wanting to let go. That afternoon, Miriam had them train together. The mate bond is the anchor, she explained. When the full moon rises tomorrow, Alyssa will feel the pull to shift. The power will try to overwhelm her. Raiden, your job is to keep her grounded. How to, Raiden asked. Physical contact. The bond is strongest through touch. Miriam gestured to the ground. Sit facing each other, hands clasped. They sat, Alyssa's hands in Raiden's. Now, Miriam said. Alyssa, reach for your wolf, not to shift, just to feel her. Raiden, keep her anchored. Alyssa closed her eyes, reached for that place inside where the purple light lived. Her wolf surged forward, eager, powerful. Too powerful. Alyssa gasped. The world started to blur. Power building, pressure increasing. Then Raiden's hands tightened on hers. I'm here, he said. You're not alone. Feel me. Focus on me. Alyssa focused on the warmth of his hands, the sound of his voice, the scent of cedar and smoke. The power eased, didn't disappear, just settled. Good, Miriam said, again. They practiced for hours. Each time Alyssa reached for her wolf, each time Raiden pulled her back. By the end, they were exhausted. But something had changed. Alyssa could feel the bond between them now. Not just emotionally, physically, a silver thread connecting them. Unbreakable. Tomorrow, Miriam said, you'll need this. Remember what you learned here. That night, the eve of the full moon, they held the mating ceremony. It was small, intimate, just Elder Miriam Thorne and a handful of witnesses from both packs. They stood in a clearing under the stars. Alyssa in a simple white dress, Raiden in black. Miriam spoke the ancient words, about souls bound by the goddess, about love that transcends death, about two becoming one. Do you, Raiden Blackwood, take Alyssa Hartwin as your mate, to protect, to cherish, to stand beside through all the days of your life? I do, Raiden said. His voice was steady. Sure. Do you, Alyssa Hartwin, take Ryden Blackwood as your mate, to trust, to support, to stand beside through all the days of your life? Alyssa looked into those golden eyes, saw her future there. I do. And then by the power vested in me by the moon goddess, I declare you bonded, mates for life. Ryden kissed her. The bond flared between them, blazing bright enough that everyone could see it. A silver light wrapping around them, binding them together. When they pulled apart, Alyssa felt different, complete, like a piece that had been missing her whole life had finally clicked into place. Later, alone in Ryden's chambers, they completed the bond. It was gentle, reverent. Ryden treated her like she was precious, his hands and mouth worshiping every inch of her. When they finally came together, the bond sealed completely. Alyssa felt his wolf and hers intertwine, felt his emotions as her own, felt the depth of his love, his fear, his desperate hope that she would survive tomorrow. I'm scared, she whispered after lying in his arms. So am I, Ryden admitted. But we're in this together now. Whatever happens tomorrow, we face it as one. Promise you won't let me hurt anyone. If I lose control, if the power takes over, promise you'll stop me. I promise, but it won't come to that. You're stronger than the power. I know you are. Alyssa pressed closer, breathing him in, trying to memorize this moment. Tomorrow the full moon would rise, and everything would change. The day of the full moon dawned gray and cold. Heavy clouds pressed down on the mountains, threatening rain. Alyssa stood at the window of Ryden's chambers, watching the sky. She hadn't slept, couldn't sleep. The wolf inside her was restless, pacing, sensing what was coming. Strong arms wrapped around her from behind. Ryden's chin rested on her shoulder. How do you feel? He asked. Terrified, excited, like I'm about to jump off a cliff and I don't know if I can fly. You can, and if you can't, I'll catch you. They stood like that for a long moment, drawing strength from each other. A knock at the door. Thorne entered, his expression serious. The council has arrived. They're setting up observation posts around the clearing. Elder Miriam is ready when you are. Alyssa took a deep breath. Let's do this. The clearing was massive, easily 200 feet across. At the edges, council members stood behind reinforced barriers. 50 guards ringed the perimeter, weapons ready, in case she needed to be stopped. Elder Miriam stood in the center waiting. Are you ready? The old woman asked as Alyssa and Ryden approached. As ready as I'll ever be. Remember your training. When the moon rises, your wolf will surge forward. Don't fight her. Don't try to control her. Just guide her and trust your mate to anchor you. Alyssa nodded. Ryden squeezed her hand. I'll be right here, the whole time. The sun began to set. Alyssa felt it immediately, a pulling sensation deep in her bones. The wolf inside her lifted her head, sensing the moon even though it wasn't visible yet. It's starting, Alyssa said. I know. I can feel it through the bond. Ryden moved behind her, his hands on her shoulders. Breathe. Focus on my voice. You're not alone. The clouds began to part. Moonlight broke through. Not the full moon yet, but close. Pain lanced through Alyssa's body. Not the pain of injury, the pain of transformation. Bones wanting to shift, muscles wanting to change. She gasped. I've got you, Ryden said. You're okay, just breathe. The moon rose higher, fuller, brighter. Alyssa's eyes flashed purple. Power exploded through her body, not a trickle, a flood. Years of suppression breaking all at once. She screamed. Her bones began to crack. Reshape, the transformation forcing its way through whether she was ready or not. Stay with me, Ryden's voice cut through the pain. Feel the bond, follow it back to me. Alyssa reached for that silver thread connecting them, grabbed onto it like a lifeline. The pain lessened, didn't stop, but became bearable. Her body continued to change. Fur erupted across her skin. White as snow, her hands became paws tipped with claws that gleamed in the moonlight. Her face elongated, teeth sharpening into fangs. She was shifting. For the first time in her life, she was shifting. The transformation completed. Where Alyssa had stood, a wolf now crouched. But not just any wolf. She was massive, 9 feet tall at the shoulder when she stood, 14 feet long from nose to tail. Pure white fur that seemed to glow with an inner light. And her eyes, purple, glowing like amethyst. Around the clearing, every wolf present felt their wolves submit. The lunar alpha had risen. Even the council members, powerful alphas themselves, felt their wolves bow instinctively. Alyssa Wolf stood there, confused, disoriented. The world looked different, smelled different. Too much information flooding in at once. She snarled, overwhelmed. Ryden shifted. His black wolf was large, but next to her he looked small. He approached slowly, non-threatening. When he got close enough, he pressed his head against her neck. The bond flared. Alyssa Wolf calmed, recognized him. Mate. Safe. Anchor. She lowered her head, accepting his comfort. Around them, the guards tensed. The council watched with horrified fascination, because standing before them was a creature of legend, a weapon that could destroy them all. But Alyssa Wolf didn't attack. She just stood there, pressed against Raiden Wolf, drawing strength from him. Minutes passed, then slowly, deliberately, Alyssa Wolf began to shift back. It was harder than the first transformation. The wolf didn't want it to let go, wanted to stay in this powerful form, but Alyssa pulled on the bond, used Raiden as her anchor, and slowly, painfully forced the shift back to human. When it was done, she collapsed onto the grass, naked, trembling, covered in sweat. Raiden Human again wrapped his cloak around her and pulled her into his arms. "You did it," he whispered. "You shifted. You controlled it. You came back." Alyssa was shaking so hard she could barely speak. "I felt her. My wolf, she's so strong, so powerful, I almost lost myself. But you didn't. You held on. You chose to come back." Elder Miriam approached, her eyes shining. "Extraordinary. I've never seen a first shift so controlled. Most Lunar Alphas lose themselves completely the first time. But you maintained yourself." "I had help." Alyssa looked up at Raiden. "I couldn't have done it without him." Counselor Draven approached the edge of the clearing. His expression was stunned. "The demonstration is complete," he called out. "Alyssa Hartwin has proven she can shift and return to human form with minimal assistance. The council will need to deliberate, but—" He paused. "I believe we've seen enough to declare her not a threat." "Not a threat," another counselor, a woman in her 50s, shook her head. "She's the most powerful wolf alive. That makes her a threat by definition." "It makes her powerful," Draven corrected. "There's a difference. A threat is someone who cannot or will not control their power. She just proves she can do both." "The vote will be tomorrow," Draven continued. "But for tonight, the demonstration is complete. Alyssa Hartwin may return to her quarters." Raiden helped Alyssa to her feet. She swayed, exhausted, every muscle screaming. "I've got you," Raiden said, scooping her into his arms. "Always." He carried her back to the lodge, while behind them, the council erupted into heated debate. That night, Raiden's chambers. Alyssa woke to darkness. She was in Raiden's bed, clean and dressed in soft clothes she didn't remember putting on. Raiden sat in a chair by the window, watching the now clear sky. "Hey," Alyssa said. He turned, the relief flooding his face. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a truck, but alive." She sat up slowly. "What happened after?" "Did the council decide?" "They're still arguing, but Draven is on our side. So are 3 others. That's a majority." Raiden crossed to the bed, sat beside her. "You did it, Alyssa. You proved them wrong. We did it. I couldn't have shifted back without you. The bond goes both ways. You're as much my anchor as I am yours." Alyssa leaned against him. "There's something I need to tell you. When I was in wolf form, I could feel everything. Every wolf in that clearing. Their fear, their awe, and something else." "What?" "Marcus, he was there, watching from the trees. I could feel his emotions through some kind of connection. He wasn't angry, he was relieved." Raiden frowned. "Relieved?" Like a weight had been lifted, like he'd been waiting years for this moment. Alyssa looked up at Raiden. "I think he wanted me to succeed. All this time I thought he kept me suppressed because he hated me. But what if it was the opposite? What if he was just terrified of losing me the way he lost my mother? That doesn't excuse what he did." "No, but it explains it." Alyssa was quiet for a moment. "Tomorrow after the council votes, I want to talk to him. One more time. To understand." "Are you sure?" "Yes, because I need closure. And I think he does too." Next morning, Marcus's suite. Marcus opened the door himself. He looked older than Alyssa had ever seen him. Tired, defeated. "I wondered if you'd come," he said. "Can I come in?" He stepped aside. They sat across from each other in the same room where they'd fought before. But this time the anger was gone, replaced by something sadder, more honest. "I felt you last night," Alyssa said. "When I shifted. I felt your emotions?" "Relief. Why, Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "Because I've been waiting for that moment since you were 3 years old. Waiting to see if you could control it. If you could be what your mother couldn't." "Tell me about her. The truth this time." Marcus poured himself a drink, offered one to Alyssa. She declined. "Your mother was magnificent," he said. "Powerful, beautiful, kind, everything I wasn't. When we met, I was nothing. A minor alpha with a failing pack. She chose me anyway. Saw something in me I didn't see in myself." He took a drink. "We were happy. For years. Then you were born. And when you turned 3, when your power first manifested, Catherine was overjoyed. She said you were a gift from the goddess, that you would do great things. But you were scared, terrified, because I knew what lunar alphas could do. I'd read the histories, seen the destruction. I begged her to help me suppress you, just until you were old enough to understand, to control it. Marcus's hand shook slightly. She refused, said suppression was cruel, that you needed to grow into your power naturally. We fought about it for months, and then he closed his eyes. Then she lost control. We were driving. She was angry about something I said, about you. The power surged, the car flipped, and she burned from the inside out. Alyssa's eyes filled with tears. It wasn't your fault. Wasn't it? I pushed her, made her angry, triggered the loss of control. Marcus looked at Alyssa. And then I had you, 3 years old, same power, same potential for destruction. I couldn't let what happened to her happen to you. So I started the wolfsbane, just a little at first, then more, until your wolf went silent. You kept me alive, but you also kept me imprisoned. I know, and I'm sorry, truly sorry, but I couldn't lose you too. You're all I have left of her. Alyssa stood, crossed to where Marcus sat, and did something she never thought she'd do. She hugged him. Marcus froze. Then slowly his arms came up to return the embrace. I forgive you, Alyssa whispered. Not because what you did was right, but because I understand why you did it. Marcus's shoulders shook. He was crying. For the first time in years, he was crying. Thank you, he said. You have no idea what that means. When Alyssa pulled back, her own eyes were wet. The council votes today. After that, I'm going to Yellowstone with Ryden, to his pack, to start my life as his mate in Luna. You'll be a good queen, better than I was a king. What will you do? Marcus smiled sadly. Step down. Let someone younger lead Silverpine, someone who isn't haunted by the past. He paused. Maybe travel, see the places Catherine always wanted to visit. I'd like that, for you. They stood there for a moment, two people who had hurt each other, finding a fragile peace. Goodbye, Alyssa. Goodbye, Marcus. Council chamber. Final vote. The chamber was packed, every seat filled. Alyssa and Ryden stood before the council once more. Draven stood. After extensive deliberation, this council has reached a decision regarding Alyssa Hartwin, Lunar Alpha, and her status within Pack Society. He paused. The vote is 7-5. The majority has determined that Alyssa Hartwin has demonstrated sufficient control over her abilities. She poses no threat to Pack safety. Relief flooded through Alyssa. Furthermore, Draven continued, as mate to the AlphaKing and Lunar Alpha in her own right, Alyssa Hartwin is granted the title of Luna Queen of Nightshade. All rights and protections therein apply. The chamber erupted in applause, not everyone, but enough. Alyssa turned to Ryden. He pulled her into his arms, lifting her off her feet. You did it, he whispered. You're free. We did it. When he set her down, Elder Miriam was there. Congratulations, child. You've accomplished what no Lunar Alpha has in nearly a millennium. Controlled transformation. Maintained humanity. You should be proud. Thank you for everything. Miriam smiled. My work is done, but yours is just beginning. Being a Luna Queen is no small task, especially when you're also a Lunar Alpha. You'll need to learn politics, diplomacy, how to lead. I'll have help, Alyssa looked at Ryden. Won't I, every step of the way? 3 weeks later, Alyssa stood in Yellowstone National Park watching steam rise from the hot springs. The Nightshade Pack territory was beautiful, wild, untamed, like her. Behind her, the massive Pack Lodge rose 3 stories built from timber and stone blending into the landscape. Home. There you are, she turned. Ryden approached, dressed casually in jeans and a dark sweater. Couldn't sleep, he asked. Too much on my mind. The coronation is tomorrow. I'm nervous. You'll be perfect. How can you be so sure? Because I know you. You've faced down councils, survived years of torture, mastered power that terrifies grown alphas. A ceremony is nothing compared to that. Alyssa smiled. When you put it that way. Besides, you won't be alone up there. I'll be right beside you. They walked together through the pack grounds. Wolves were already arriving for tomorrow's ceremony. 500 guests from packs across the territories, all here to witness the coronation of the first Lunar Alpha Luna Queen in history. Have you heard anything about Chloe, my son? Alyssa asked. Ryden's expression darkened. She was found guilty by Silverpine's council. The punishment was carried out yesterday. What punishment? Wolf severance. Her wolf was separated from her soul through ancient ritual. She's human now, fully human. No healing, no shifting, no pack bond. She was exiled to live out her life among humans. Alyssa absorbed that. Part of her felt vindicated. Chloe had tortured her for years, but another part felt sad. No wolf deserved that fate. And Draven, she asked, imprisoned. 20 years in Dark Canyon for accepting bribes from Marcus. He won't see daylight until he's an old man. And Marcus has stepped down as Alpha of Silverpine like he said he would, named his Beta as successor. Last I heard he's traveling. Somewhere in Europe, I think. Alyssa nodded. She'd received a letter from Marcus last week. Brief, simple. Just 3 lines. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry for everything. Be happy. She'd kept it. Come on, Ryden said. There's something I want to show you. He led her through the forest to a clearing she hadn't seen before. In the center stood a stone marker, beautifully carved with intricate symbols. This is where my mother is buried, Ryden said quietly. Alyssa's breath caught. Ryden, I wanted you to meet her, officially. He approached the marker, placed his hand on it. Mom, this is Alyssa, my mate, my queen, the woman I love. Alyssa felt tears sting her eyes. She's everything you said I'd find someday. Ryden continued speaking to the stone. Strong, kind, brave. And she needs your blessing tomorrow. Because becoming queen is terrifying, and I think she could use some wisdom from a queen who did it right. Alyssa approached slowly, placed her own hand on the marker. I wish I could have known you, she said softly. Ryden talks about you all the time, about your kindness, your strength. I'm going to try to be the kind of queen you were, I promise. They stood there in silence, the wind rustling through the trees. And for just a moment, Alyssa could have sworn she felt warmth under her palm. Like the stone was warmer than it should be. Like approval, coronation day. The ceremony was held outdoors in a massive natural amphitheater formed by ancient rocks. 500 guests filled the space. Alphas, Lunas, elders, warriors, representatives from every pack in the Western Territories. Alyssa stood backstage wearing a dress that took her breath away. White silk embroidered with silver thread that caught the light. Flowing sleeves. A train that would sweep behind her as she walked. She looked like a queen. Felt like an imposter. You ready? Thorne asked. He'd volunteered to walk her down the aisle. No, but I'm doing it anyway. That's the spirit. Music began. Ancient pack songs sung by a chorus of wolves. Alyssa stepped into view. 500 faces turned toward her. She walked down the aisle slowly, each step measured. At the end, Ryden waited. He wore formal black, a silver crown already on his head. When she reached him, he took her hand. Squeezed once. I'm here, his eyes said. You've got this. Elder Miriam stood before them, dressed in ceremonial robes. We gathered today to witness the coronation of Alyssa Hartwin as Luna Queen of Nightshade Pack, as mate to AlphaKing Ryden Blackwood, and as Lunar Alpha blessed by the moon goddess herself. Miriam lifted a crown. Silver delicate with crescent moons worked into the design. Alyssa Hartwin, do you swear to lead with wisdom, to protect the weak, to serve your pack before yourself? Alyssa's voice was steady. I do. Do you swear to use your power for good, to never let it control you, to be a beacon of hope instead of a weapon of fear? I do. Then by the power vested in me, and by the blessing of the moon goddess, I crown you Luna Queen. Miriam placed the crown on Alyssa's head. The crowd erupted in howls. Hundreds of wolves, human and shifted, raised their voices in celebration. Ryden turned to her, and in front of 500 witnesses, the Alpha King knelt before his queen. You honor us all, he said, my queen, my mate, my love. Alyssa pulled him to his feet. We honor each other. Always. They kissed as the pack celebrated around them. Reception evening. The celebration lasted hours. Food, music, dancing, wolves from rival packs mingling peacefully. All because a lunar alpha had shown them that power didn't have to mean destruction. Alyssa made her way through the crowd greeting guests. She was exhausted but happy, until she saw a familiar face at the edge of the gathering. Marcus. He'd come. Alyssa excused herself from the conversation she was in and crossed to him. You came, she said. I told you I'd be traveling. Thought I'd stop by on my way to Alaska. He smiled. It was genuine. You look beautiful, like your mother. Thank you for coming, she gestured vaguely. Everything. I meant what I said in my letter. I'm proud of you. You took something terrible and made it beautiful. That's more than I ever managed. They stood there for a moment, father and daughter, finding peace at last. Where will you go after Alaska? Alyssa asked. Not sure yet. Maybe Japan, maybe New Zealand. Somewhere your mother always wanted to see. Marcus pulled an envelope from his pocket. Before I go, I wanted to give you this. Alyssa opened it. Inside was a photograph. Her mother, young, beautiful, holding a baby with blonde hair and green eyes. Alyssa, maybe 2 months old. She loved you so much, Marcus said. I want you to have this, to remember that you were loved. Always. Alyssa's vision blurred with tears. Thank you. Marcus kissed her forehead. Be happy, Alyssa. That's all I want for you now. Be happy. And then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the night. Alyssa watched him go, and for the first time in her life, she felt no anger toward him. Just sadness for the man he could have been, and hope that he'd find peace. Ryden appeared beside her. Everything okay? Yeah, everything's perfect. Alyssa stood on the balcony of the Pack Lodge, watching the sunset paint the mountains golden red. Behind her, she heard Ryden approach, felt his arms wrap around her, his hand resting on her still flat stomach. How are you feeling? He asked. Good. The morning sickness is getting better. That's good. The pack healer said it should ease up soon. Alyssa turned in his arms. Are you scared about the baby? Terrified, but also excited. If our child is half as strong as you, the world better watch out. Alyssa laughed. We don't even know if there'll be a lunar alpha. Doesn't matter. Lunar alpha or not, they'll be ours. And we'll love them. And teach them control. And make sure they never ever feel alone or worthless or powerless. Promise. I promise, Boss. They stood there as the sun set, two souls bonded by fate, holding the promise of new life. In the distance, a wolf howled, then another, then a whole chorus. The pack celebrating, the pack at peace. And Alyssa, who had spent years believing she was broken, finally understood the truth. She wasn't broken. She never had been. She was exactly what the moon goddess intended her to be. Powerful, loved, free. And she was home. Marcus Hartwin stood at a rest stop in the Nevada desert, looking out at the endless horizon. His phone buzzed. A text from Alyssa. Thought you should know, you're going to be a grandfather. Marcus smiled, typed back. Congratulations. I know you'll be a wonderful mother. He pocketed the phone, looked up at the sky. Did you hear that, Catherine? He said to the wind. We're going to have a grandchild, a lunar alpha baby. Maybe. And Alyssa is happy. She's safe. She made it. The wind seemed to answer, warm, gentle, like approval. Marcus climbed back into his car, started the engine. He didn't know where he was going, but for the first time in years, he wasn't running from the past. He was driving toward the future, and that was enough.